young people I met today, the young people behind me, you guys inspire me. It's young people like you that make me so confident that America's best days are still to come. When you work and study and excel at what you're doing in math and science, when you compete in something like this, you're not just trying to win a prize today, you're getting America in shape to win the future.
Felix, you are clear to jump at your own discretion.
You're making sure we have the best, smartest, most skilled workers in the world so that the jobs and industries tomorrow take root right here.
Cleared. I'm on my own.
You're making sure we'll always be home to the most creative entrepreneurs, the most advanced science labs and universities. You're making sure America will win the race to the future.
Speed 620 mph. Mach 1.0. Mach 1.2. Mach 1.089 and slowing.
It has to do. No, I can't. The basis there?
No.
In what regards? STEM? Okay, I'll describe it in a couple ways. So a stem is on a plant that is like the part that connects the roots to the flower or leaves.
No!
Stem, as in the stem of a plant?
Okay.
And then a stem cell is a cell that can be many different, it can be turned into many different kinds of cells, and it's very multi-useful. Okay. Also, yes. That's it.
Fruit.
I got nothing.
There you go.
The bottom of the skull, it's a stem of the brain. I don't even know.
Stem? Like a stem on a plant?
STEM. I believe it has to do something with biology, possibly science.
No, I have no clue. STEM, an acronym. No.
Okay. It'd probably be students, training, engineering, materials, something like that.
Short-term elementary medications. I don't know.
So let's see, STEM. Schools, teachers, education. That's an M.
Society for the Evolution of Meatheads.
Social technology, environment, movement.
There you go.
I don't know what that stands for. Do you guys?
What do you guys think?
STEM. Psychic Tiger. Energy. Maroon.
Something with the technology reference. I have no idea.
Society for the Evolution of Meatheads.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
I would have no idea.
Oh. That rings a bell.
Systems, technology. No idea.
we'll have one solar panel coming off the line every 10 seconds. That's millions of solar panels a year from one factory.
The Chinese graduate more engineers than we graduate in the whole country.
Over the next 20 or 30 years, it's expected that the human race will need about 13 terawatts more power than we use.
We're promoting lifelong learning and lifelong service, so we want them to come out and help serve in their different, beyond just in the military. So it's very important for them to have those type of basic skills.
We have to think about what types of resources will allow us to have double the amount of power we use today.
The challenge for a lot, even some of the officers, you have to have certain technology skills and you become, you don't get promoted.
Solar has the magnitude of fuel and the capability to really meet our needs. It exceeds it by over 1,000 times.
Whenever you diagnose a vehicle or weapon systems issues, you have to use computers. Everyone has to have those computer skills.
Huge. Well, because I think that's the future of our economy and how things are going to be going. And when I look at the competition globally, we are missing the boat. And so, yeah, I think it's huge. It doesn't affect me that much. I'm in the twilight of my years, and the type of business that I'm in, it's not that big a deal. But for the younger people that are going to be going out into the world, and they will be going out into the world. They won't be going out into the state or the U.S. They'll be going out into the world and competing in the world. And we're not competing particularly well right now. So yeah, I think it's huge.
Science is important because you know how your body works, you know how other things work. Technology is important because it's the way of the future. Engineering is important because a lot of people, we need engineers in our lives, and math. And math is important because you can use math in everyday life, especially in counting change and money.
Fundamentals of education, and it's underutilized in the school system today.
And why?
Because, like, in your future, it really helps you with your career and, like, accounting and stuff, you know? And if you're at the grocery store, just do math, figure out what's the best for you. Yeah.
I don't know how they could advance well in any career today without learning all of those things. I think that we're such, our society's become so technologically based that I don't think they would be able to be successful in very many careers if they didn't know all of those things.
Well, it's those types of studies that allow the mind to really think. I mean, you can read and you can write, but there's a discipline of the thinking processes, and those are really the basis of that. It should be put in at a very young age because the mind can absorb it if it's taught properly.
I think it's essential. I mean, not just in today's world, but you know, the future we don't even know. I don't see those things going away. I see all of those being more or less keystones of any type of business or any type of engineering career, or you know, any type of, even if you're a journalist, let's say, you're going to have to speak to one of those 4 types of things in your article, no matter what it is.
Basis of learning everything. Absolutely.
It can only benefit you. I mean, it's, you know.
Yeah, okay. Way of the future, basically?
Yeah, basically. I mean, like, it's one of those things where if you don't have it, you know, I mean,
okay.
Get some dumb kids.
That's it. That's all I need.
Get some dumb kids.
I think a lot of people realize later in life that, you know, if you could have more time to learn these things and develop your skills before you got out into the job field where things move very, very quickly, it would be amazingly helpful. So to answer your question directly, I think not only learning it at a younger stage, but maybe applying it in a job-like setting at a younger stage would be really helpful for the students of, you know, today and tomorrow.
Both teaching and learning are now collaborative. It's about sharing. It's about working with other people. Those are very real-world skills that are not just necessary, they're required of our students.
A science teacher named Mr. Miller. What he had us do is work with a lot of different tools, whether it was video editing, whether we had different projects, experiments. He really did his best to keep things engaging, as a lot of people try to do. But what I really saw was his belief that we could be creative in a frame of engineering or as technologists when we were young. He just really believed that every student could build and be creative. I'll never forget that.
Different like compositions of my notes and then made the background. So I'm trying to emulate Basquiat, but also incorporating a bunch of math.
I want to become an engineering major, so I feel like if I can get this experience, I can have a head start on green technology and incorporate that and hopefully just get another step ahead.
And the vision of the CMR is to be the model school district for 21st century learning in the nation. And we're proud of that. We pride ourselves on embracing change, embracing cutting-edge technology and new initiatives, and we're very excited about this coming year.
Our goal when we started this school essentially was to try to create a place where when you walked into it you couldn't tell whether it was a technical school or a college prep school.
Obviously this is kind of a scanning keyboard, but of course I can rescale it to make it work well for my hands. And that's really important because there's no reason in this day and age that we should be conforming to a physical device. I mean, that leads to bad things like RSI. I mean, we have so much technology nowadays that these interfaces should start conforming to us. I kind of cringe at the idea that we're going to introduce a whole new generation of people to computing with kind of this standard mouse and Windows pointer interface. This is something that I think is really the way we should be interacting with machines from this point on.
I'm not so much interested in seeing if they can pass an exam, multiple choice, or whatever it may be, as I am in seeing visually, or if they can tell me verbally that they've learned something and can explain the process to me.
There are three axioms of public education in this country, particularly in high schools, and they are that you separate students from each other based on their perceived academic ability, you separate hands from minds, and you separate school from the world beyond. And we try to integrate those three things. We integrate students, we integrate the subjects, particularly technical and academic pursuits, and we try to integrate with the world beyond school as well.
And I cringe when I think of them in today's test-driven schools trying to keep their creative lights burning.
Mission is to engage, challenge, and inspire all of our students, which I believe is very compelling. We have 5 values in the district: integrity, teamwork, excellence and personal best, resilience and innovation, and we believe those make us a great organization.
We can do things with the social environment and link all of that together. All of those photos become linked together and they make something emergent that's greater than the sum of the parts. Each of these orange cones represents an image that was discovered to belong to this model. And so these are all Flickr images, and they've all been related spatially in this way. And we can just navigate in this very simple way.
I worked at Philips Electronics in the Far Future Design Research Lab, looking 20 years into the future. I explored the human skin and how technology can transform the body. I worked on concepts like an electronic tattoo, which is augmented by touch, or dresses that blushed and shivered with light.
Have my students be able to use it and discover the answers on their own.
These 21st century skills, these kind of employability skills, were really college prep skills as well. If we were able to pull together a program where we were asking kids to work in teams, to ask good questions, to consider multiple perspectives in the work that they're doing, ask how things are connected, take big picture views and so forth, that that we would be preparing them both for college and for careers.
The benefit of the Green Energy and Technology Academy, the GREAT Academy here at Desert Mirage High School, is that the students are learning real-world practical applications.
I learned a lot about each form of green technology, such as stuff from the earth, stuff from the wind, all sorts of technologies, and how easy it is to just harness that energy to make electricity and just how to help us.
The technology comes from 2003. But its developers say the Harry Potter-like invisibility cloak is just the beginning.
Yeah, well, I think the culture of High Tech High in general, not just our school, but the whole village, is a very hands-on approach. Collaboration is a big key element to a successful project, in my opinion. I think they're going to get a deeper, more meaningful understanding of the subject as a whole, as opposed to, one tiny piece of it. And so it's really neat that I can go to any of these kids and talk about ancient Egyptian engineering. I could talk to them about their daily life. I can talk to them about the architecture of pyramids and obelisks, and talk about volume and surface area, and talk about gods and goddesses, and every single one of them would know all about it.
I'm fascinated with the idea of what happens when you merge biology with technology. And I remember reading about this idea of being able to reprogram biology in the future away from disease and aging.
More teachers need to let go of their controlling aspects in nature that I think has been inbred in us for far too long. We have to really think of the global community that we're a part of, but more importantly that our students are a part of.
Building the windmill was really fun because it was all hands-on. First we started with a lot of research on blade design, a lot of steps just to make a single blade, a lot of prototypes.
The blades have to be perfectly angled and a certain pitch. Blades have to be the same pitch or else they won't generate any speed, which will cause not to generate electricity.
We learn how it will generate power. I learned how to read volts and amps, which I didn't know before. I didn't even really know what they were. And now I know that it's power. I know that that's the way that you would measure power.
And those are the 4 C's of communication, critical thinking, collaboration, and creativity, as well as self-direction, technology, and global awareness and second language skills.
The eventual goal, though, is to create an augmented reality that allows anyone to easily see information on real-world objects.
I think it's always a critical thinking exercise when you have to start from scratch, when you're building something from nothing. You create your ideas and then see the flaws with those ideas, refine them, and develop them out, just like you would do in the real world. So there's a lot of troubleshooting and questions that you have to ask, like what's causing this to fail, or why isn't this fitting together right, or how come these didn't work the way I thought they would work. And so that really forces you into that critical thinking mindset. We definitely work in teams of 2. Each student is responsible for creating similar things, so one student doesn't do all the work. They both have to do sketches, they both have to have individual parts that they're responsible for. So we try and create a collaborative environment by doing that. At the end we have a reflection and a share out, so everybody can kind of say what they've learned and where they've grown and what they didn't know before.
I worked with a synthetic biologist and I created a swallowable perfume, which is a cosmetic pill that you eat and the fragrance comes out through the skin surface when you perspire. It completely blows apart the way that perfume is and provides a whole new format. It's perfume coming from the inside out. It redefines the role of skin and our bodies become an atomizer.
I'm a video producer. Well, I use the scientific method a lot to figure out problems, come up with a hypothesis. I use technology all day long with, all the software for editing and all the cameras and stuff like that. Engineering, not as much engineering, maybe more very basic engineering, if I set up a structure so it won't fall down, very basic stuff. What was it? Math? Math, just probably basic accounting stuff and running a business.
And I'm an occupational therapist and I work with children. I use it all the time because I work on development, the 5 areas of development for children from birth to 3 and older into school. So what we do as an occupational therapist, I'm working on specific skills so that children are able to sit and attend or have the fine motor to write and do all the activities, all the areas they need to do it in school. I use computers for all of the paperwork we do. Cell phones are very useful in terms of getting information quicker to people and to be able to collaborate with parents, with other therapists, with other agencies. Technology for my kids, you know, if they have trouble with fine motor skills, they may use some sort, you know, they might use a laptop or other kinds of devices in the classroom at an early age.
I'm a commercial insurance broker. The business part of my work is mainly finance and risk management, which is kind of like an applied science, in the sense that, you know, you have to have knowledge about the field and you have to understand those potential hazards that businesses interact with before you talk to them. Technology, I mean, my whole business is based around getting in front of my clients and potential customers in, you know, the most efficient channel possible, because there's so many people to talk to. So for example, email, a website that is interactive more or less with them, for them to give me information. I even, you know, today I even booked an appointment via text message, and I'm constantly on the phone talking to my underwriters or clients to make sure that the communication is clear. And then as far as math goes, I guess I'd be a duplication of what I already said about risk management and finance, but you know, the math part of it really is I'm selling something, so at the end of the day I have to be a really good understanding of, you know, the percentages they're trying to deal with, what their budgets are, and how much the pricing for them is going to be a factor, and how to present that to them.
Dietetics. Well, science, dietetics is all about science, how, you know, nutrients metabolize. Technology, you know, what would we do without the internet? I wouldn't know half the stuff I know without the internet. Engineering, I can engineer a healthy meal with my, math, you know, making a recipe into a smaller or bigger size by multiplying or dividing or calculating a body mass index or something like that.
Okay. A locksmith. You know, the math, obviously, with dealing with dollars and cents.
Science?
No science. Very little science. I don't use it much in my profession. I really don't.
Well, technology, basically it locks when you're putting bending, things like that together, machining, grooves, all that stuff comes into play to make things work. Yeah, there's a lot of that.
Smart Center? We call them mixologists, so, you know.
Yeah.
Ratios.
Yeah, so it's definitely the math portion of it, right?
Yeah. I'm a businessman. Yes, one of my businesses, I build pizza ovens, so we have to get the geometry of the oven just right to hold the heat. So, yeah.
I use technology to ask people if they have cool apps on their phone, and then I play them for 5 minutes. Say that you build stuff. And then I build Legos for like 4 hours every day, so I use that to engineer that. And then I trade it to Lincoln, and then he gives something to me in return. I'm learning math at school. So
okay.
Math.
I'm a real estate broker. Technology to basically gather information about properties and to share information. Math, because we're dealing in loan components and financials.
I'm a nurse. I use all of those things in my daily work life. Science, obviously, everyone knows we gain medical technology and advancement through science, so of course I use that all the time, just in the way that we have figured out how to treat people and their illnesses. Technology, gosh, everything from MRIs, CT scans, portable x-ray machines, all of our lab equipment. We have a device called the Auto Pulse that was developed for giving really high quality CPR, so compressions to people. So it's a strap that fits over the chest, and it compresses so deep and so well that people perfuse much better than with standard manual compression. So that's something that is newer for us, being able to give people large volumes of fluids, like trauma patients, over, you know, a liter per minute, rapid fire, just an amazing piece of technology. Obviously, computer charting we have our vitals machines that connect to a main system so that we can view someone's cardiac rhythm from their room over in another part of the hospital. So a lot of that stuff all the time. Math, of course, because of, you know, even just calculating medicine doses. So all of those things all day long I use in my job.
It's time. Our time has finally come, and I think the New Tech model is one of many whose ideas are leading the way.
Everybody in this room understands that our nation's success depends on strengthening America's role as the world's engine of discovery and innovation.
Now where Facebook, Twitter, putting things online, video, all those types of things can allow you to reach stakeholders that you otherwise couldn't. SurveyMonkey, things like that. You have to get beyond thinking that this is the only way to communicate.
All the CEOs who are here today understand that their company's future depends on their ability to harness the creativity and dynamism and insight of a new generation.
I saw a very interesting TED Talk the other day, and it was put on by a Stanford professor, and I believe it was called the 100,000 Person Classroom. And he opened the talk by showing a picture of a classroom from the year 1350. And it had all in medieval garb. Up on the lectern there, a professor, and it had students seated as you are now, pretty much in those round tiered rows. And the costumes hadn't changed. The students had the same looks on their faces. And in the back corner, there was one student who was sleeping. So the comment from the professor from Stanford was, what's changed from that year 1350 until today? If we are doing what we're doing in the way we are learning and teaching, and I use those reversed order, learning and teaching, then what will we get, especially as we look forward to a time that we cannot even
New
get
Technology High is one of the New Technology Network campuses, originally started in Napa, and we hope to bring that here in 2012. Next year we'll be doing some recruiting and hiring the director and our teachers, and very excited. It'll be a district-wide program on the Nipomo High campus, and every student gets a one-to-one computer and a lot of project-based learning, integrated studies. So I am just thrilled that we are moving closer to our vision of becoming the model school district for 21st century learning in the nation, and very excited that our community and our board is behind moving forward.
If we are really going to make a change to the American high school as we know it, which looks an awful lot like the American high school you probably attended, and I know I attended, and perhaps even my parents attended, if we're ever going to make that change, it is going to be through the power of transformative ideas. And I believe that's what New Tech brings to the table.
And that leadership tomorrow depends on how we educate our students today, especially in science, technology, engineering, and math.
Disengaged students don't see any linkages between what they're doing currently and where their futures might lie. So when you look at linking the powerful model of a higher education institution such as Cal Poly to a high school model, and you articulate that in a way that you have project-based learning as the core of what you do, that's a tremendously, again, transformative and powerful idea that helps high schoolers make the transition not just into a career, but into a successful academic career, especially at institutions that are very demanding and project-based, like Cal Poly.
We know how important this is for our health, it's important for our security, it's important for our environment, and we know how important it is for our economy.
How about him?
There's a dumb kid.
I was gonna say, he had no stem.
There's no stem right there.